Alright, welcome everyone to the build video for the TIV 2 kit. Um, Today we're going to be showing you how to build it, how to put it together, make sure everything works as it should. Everything you see here in the picture will be included in the kit except for tape, toothpicks, and glue. Everything else will be included, including magnets that are pre-installed on the flap and the body for the mechanism on the rear flap. But yeah, everything is included, so let's get in the building. If you want to go to these stamps, there's timestamps on the screen for different parts of the build video, and also for 3D printing processes if you decide to 3D print the model from my cold 3D file. As you can see here, here's all the parts. So there will be some spares in the kit, but if you're printing it or building it, this is all you need. You will need 2 of the longer rear axles and 1 of the shorter front axle, 2 of these spike holders, 1 of this little tool for the spikes, the turret, the underbody piece, 2 front wheels, 4 inner rear wheels, and 4 outer rear wheels, the back spikes or the flap, depending on which one you choose to do. You have the axle holders for the rear and front, toothpicks of your own choice, the inner spike holders for holding the toothpicks, a front flap, the left and right flap, the body, obviously. If you choose to 3D print it, there will be the little window inserts that are included, but they will be pre-installed from the kit. 6 of the airbag little inner pieces, 6 airbag pins, and either the 2026 version of the anemometer for the TIV 2 or the whole 2009, older mesonet for the TIV 2. And then if you want to do the older one, you will need a mesonet, the camera, and the air tube supplied by Foog89 on the Discord, or this little part right here, just the mesonet for the modern version. But besides that, that is all you should need. Let's get in the building. Also, as a little side note, as you can see on this body, that little section is messed up. All the other bodies will appear normal with that section still there, but this one kind of messed up, and I'm just going to be using this one. You won't be able to see it cosmetically, but the other bodies won't be like this, and I'm just using it for the build video. That way I don't waste one of the perfectly good bodies over there. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach our flaps on either side and our front flap. So to start, we're going to just try and test fit our flaps. So as you can see, they have the 2 posts there that fit into the holes here. As you can see, they should fit pretty well. They're a little bit tight. You can run them in and out a few times, and they will it'll stick in the upper position, come down, they'll hold, and you just gotta be really careful because these posts are quite fragile, but they should stay pretty good. As you can see, you can do this with the other side, and they fit in nicely. And then we're gonna do our front flap. As you can see, we'll put it in and make sure we fit into the hole here. Gonna have to look. It's kind of hard to do without seeing. Oh, and it seems to be a little loose. You can see it's a bit loose. So 3D printers aren't perfect with tolerances, so this may be different for you, but likely it's probably gonna be the same just because tolerances are a bit goofy. But we're gonna take some tape here. Personally, I like to use some packaging tape, but you can use some thin duct tape or some scotch tape or thin clear tape or whatever. And we're just gonna get a really thin piece here. We're gonna cut it to make just a thin little piece, and we're gonna cut this one in half to get some really thin, that one stuck, some really thin slivers of tape. That'll be perfect. And we're going to stick them onto these inner posts to help tighten up the tolerances and smoothen out our, movement. So we're gonna tape these on just like so. Make sure they're nice and flush on there. So I'm gonna pull up, as you can see there's a little bit right there, it's fine. I'm gonna insert it into our thing. As you can see, it is a bit tighter now and it does not come out. So that will move very nicely, and that fixes our problem there. So now your front flap and your side flaps are installed. Up next is going to be our mounting for these side spikes. So you're going to have a few toothpicks, your spike holders, and your little red inner spike holders. So first you're going to take your little spike holder here, and you're just going to want to press this into there like so. They're pretty tight, so it might take some effort. Be careful not to break it. And then you're just going to press them in to make your little spikes. We'll repeat that with this side. As you can see, they are assembled. Now, if you're pretty young and you're having a hard time, you can ask an adult for help. I know that's kind of weird to say, but you can. And then next, we're going to take our toothpicks and we're just going to cut the end off here, this pointy end. And no idea where that went, but I'll find it later. And you're going to have your little spike here. And insert it into your spike thing. As you can see, your little spikes are made. So you can push them out with a spike tool we'll make later, and they will extend to the ground. Now, depending on your toothpick brand, they might be tight or loose. So you can see this one fits pretty well, but if per se you have a looser one, it doesn't fit very well, you could take some of the tape we used earlier for the flaps, and you can take your toothpick and just barely wrap a little tiny piece around here. That way, when you put this back into your thing, it makes a nice tight seal, and then they will fit a bit harder into here. Take a little bit more effort to push out, but that way they won't fall out. Then you're going to repeat this with the other side and the other toothpick. Now we have both of our spikes made. We're going to attach them to our tib. Now, there isn't really a good spot you can put this, since on different versions, they tend to move a little bit. So you can look at, reference pictures of the TIV2 to figure out where exactly you want to put your spikes depending on your year. But for now, you just kind of want to line it up to where this top part right here is sitting towards the top of the flap and is about lined up with that little side of the door there. The flap's up just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a tiny piece of glue, and we're just going to hot glue. We're just going to stick it on here like so. As you can see, we got a little bit of glue. Might be a bit too much, so if you wait for it to cool down a bit, you can wipe it off with your fingers. Now be careful, it's hot, hot glue. So just be careful when you're doing that. And once you have the right amount of glue, you can go back. Don't rush it. Just make sure you got your reference right. And we're going to just stick it on there like so. Just like that. And then make sure it's all nice and lined up and pressed on. And your spike is attached. So, as you can see, it looks pretty good. Goes up and down with the flap. And we'll repeat that for the other side. Okay, so now we have our side spikes done on both sides. As you can see, they're all nicely lined up and, realistic. So now that we have that done, we're going to move on to making our spike tool. This piece right here. So it's just like a little screwdriver head looking thing. And you're going to want to grab another toothpick. Now, you're going to want to cut the end, pulling it off both sides of the toothpick, just like so. And as you can see, it should fit into this tool. Now, we're going to take a little bit of hot glue, and we're just going to coat the end. You can even stick in the tip a little bit. Just coat this end in glue. And we're going to take our tool and just stick it in, just like so. That will give us a nice, clean tool. Let the glue dry. And that'll give us a nice, clean tool to take our side spikes and deploy them with. So as you can see, we can just take this, stick it in the top, and deploy your spikes. That way, they're nice and deep into the ground, And it looks nice cosmetically. That way you don't have a, 3-foot long spike coming out the top, just for your spikes to work. All right, next we're gonna be working on the flap option for the TIV2. So if you want to make a flap, or like the 2009, that early era of the TIV2, you're gonna wanna use the flap. So the magnet on here is pre-installed, so as the magnets on the bottom here. Now, of course, if you're building the kit yourself or printing it, the link for the magnets is down below on the Cults 3D file. But if you bought the kit, these will be pre-installed. So as you can see, we take the magnet, this will stick on here, and your flap will stick in place, but it doesn't go down. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take some duct tape here. We're just gonna cut a nice piece, about that thick. You can kind of eyeball it. And we're going to make sure and reference, oh look, nice and perfect for that little part there. And we're just gonna wanna stick it on right there, just like so. Kind of cover that magnet up right in that groove. And then we're gonna line it back up with our magnet to see where it sticks. As you can see, it sticks right about there. And then we're just gonna fold this piece of tape over to make a nice hinge for our back flap. And there you go. Your back flap is made. So as you can see, it stays in place, won't move. You want to deploy, boom, back flap goes down, back flap stays up, down, up. You can adjust this hinge a little bit, because as you can see, a little bit of that tape is showing, but you can adjust it back and forth to get that desired fit. All right, so next we're gonna install the back spikes. If you decide to opt out of the option for the flap, you can install the spikes if you want the newer, more modern TIV2 look. So what we're gonna do is, as you can see, the magnets won't matter for this, they're just pre-installed for the back flap. If you take your back spike piece, it will fit right about there, and it will kind of clip on with the top right about there. So you can see it lines up flush with everything on the sides. So what we're gonna do, it's gonna take a little bit of glue. It's kind of hard to see on the camera. We're just gonna put just a little bit on this top part right there. So put a bit there, and we're also gonna put some right along this top edge on the back side, just for now. And then we're gonna take it, flip it around, and we're gonna wanna make sure that this top part lines up, and then also make sure the bottom, just kind of clip it on right there. Now we can move it back and forth a little bit. And while the hot glue dries, just make sure it's in place. And then that will kind of go right there. Once this is dried, you can kind of take off the little strings it made. And then to reinforce that back part, there is this little groove in the center right there. You can take your hot glue gun, kind of hard to see on camera again, flip up your little stand so it's easier to see. Here, I'll zoom out a little bit. And I'm gonna take it and just put a nice bead of hot glue down that edge there. Put it like back down so you don't burn the table. And then make sure that is nice and fitted. That will give you a nice clean seal for that whole end right there. You have some strong back spikes. And as you can see, your little top there is clipped on, and you have the whole bottom part with glue. So it is really nice and strong. That way you won't rip off during your intercepts or during display. Next, we're just gonna add the little rear spikes. So as you can see, these are much shorter than the front spikes. So when you put this in, they will stick out the top. So what we're gonna do is you're just gonna kind of take note of where they are on your toothpick, and you're just gonna cut a good chunk of it off. Oh, my toothpick went flying. So I'm gonna grab another one. I have some here, and cut it out the same spot. There we go. And do a little fit check here. See, it's a little long, so we'll go back in and cut a little bit more off. There we go. And then fit it again. As you can see, it fits about perfectly. So you're gonna repeat that with the other side. You can line it up now, just like so. You can cut along the same line. You have both sides of your spikes made. So that way you can just insert them into here and here. You can do the same thing we do with the front spikes to tighten them up with the tape, but then you can use your tool that you made earlier and just simply deploy either side. You can see mine are kind of loose, but you can tighten them up like we did before. All right, so next we're gonna have our body set aside. We're gonna work on the underbody, the airbags, and the wheels. So to start, we're gonna have our nice axle holder pieces. And as you can see here, we have these little, airbag things. And one thing I also forgot to mention, I need some super glue. This is some really crappy super glue that I left in the box. It will pop up on screen right here. It's going to show the one I'd recommend if you got on Amazon. But this is what I recommend. You can also use Gorilla Glue, or you can also use hot glue for this, but I don't recommend because it's not very strong. So we're going to take our super glue that is really dirty and nasty, just me, and we're going to put just a bit on our thing here, and then we're going to line up our pin into our hole there and make sure this part is as perpendicular as possible. It can't be perfect because then it wouldn't have a tight fit because it allows for tolerance. Be sure to just make it as good as you can. Make sure it sticks nice and well. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side there. Put another one in. Oh, make sure it doesn't cure, so then it says Insta-Cure glue. And yeah, there we go. Let those dry. And you're gonna repeat that on these two of the holders also. So as you can see, all of our little pieces have been glued on with the pinholes facing up. Now we're gonna install them into our thing here. So, as you can see, these should fit. This is the front one, so this will fit into the front thing here. As you can see, it fits pretty nicely tightly in there. We'll take some of our pins and we're gonna pin it into there. Same thing with this side. Take the pin, put the hole, pin it in. That way you have a nice, tight fitting and strong little airbag piece. And repeat that with the rear two airbags. So now that we have our airbags in place and the pins in on all of our 6 pieces, we're going to now want to install our wheels with our axles. So we're going to grab our axles. So you're going to have 2 of these ones, the longer ones, and 1 of the shorter ones. This is for the front and rear axle. I'm reusing these. They look a little bit rough. We'll be new in the kits, but this will be separated, but just left this side on for now. But I could demonstrate with the front axle first. So you're gonna take it, so you have a nice test fit into your front part here. You can see that there's just a little bit of a gap on either side. So we're gonna take our front wheels here, and we're going to put one side in. And you want to put a little bit of glue on the inside of that wheel there. Wipe off any excess amount. You can see, you can just press it in and it will make sure you kind of even it out. You can spin it. As you can see, it is pretty even. So then we're just going to insert it and do the same thing with this one. Just a tiny bit of glue. Wipe off any extra and then just fit it on with the axle on into there, and then you have your front wheels made. Now moving on to the rear wheels, you're going to want to take your axle here. As you can see, this will fit on there like so. You're just going to take a little bit of glue, put it on the outside of the wheel there, and you're going to want to run it where that part is over this to where it pushes that out. And grab your outside part, put that on, and then move it to where they are both flush on the wheel and then are nice and right on there. Now, like we did the front wheel, we're going to insert this through here, and we're just going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to take a little bit of glue, put on the outside there, put that side facing out onto the axle, and then our outside wheel there, press to where it's flush, and then that will give you a nice rear wheel. And you're going to repeat that with this one. So now that we have our little underbody done, as you can see, it rolls. The airbags can go down, and you can pull them back out to undeploy them. Now we're going to grab our body that we have made earlier, and as you can see, there's little notches cut out, and this will fit right down into there like so. Now you can kind of look at the back here. I don't know if you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of judge by the height on either side to make sure it is even in there. Once you have ensured that everything is even inside your body, so make sure everything lines up. You're gonna want to take, it's not gonna be perfect, but you're gonna take some glue and you're just gonna take it in. By take, I mean just put little dots around the outside of your body for now. Right there, maybe one in the front. Hold this glue gun weird, but put some more, maybe like right there. And let that dry for just a second. All right, once this is dried, you can set it on the ground. Make sure your airbags are nice and undeployed. You set it in the ground and make sure that everything looks even. You can look at the front, you can see that everything is even. You know, push it down once, do a little nice deployment, and make sure everything looks right. Once you've confirmed everything is looking good, you can then take your glue gun and just kind of fill up some of those gaps to help kind of strengthen everything up. If it's uneven, you can always just pop it back out and then give it a nice extra redo just to, you know, help it. So make sure you don't get any glue like I just did on the airbags there. It was my fault. I'm just going to take a toothpick, kind of sweep that out of the way. Still my spike toothpick, so wipe that back off. But just make sure everything's kind of nice and glued in, and fill in more gaps just to help strengthen it a bit. One other thing we have to do is if your tolerances are not exactly right, or if later on this gets worn out, as you can see, when I sent the front down, the airbag will go down. It's not tight enough, it will just sag. So what you can do is you can take just a little bit of glue and put it on the inside of that post there, on either side, just like so. You can see it's down in focus, down in there. And you're just gonna run your airbags in and out to get that glue seeped in between some spots on your TIV. This will tighten up and get glue in between. And as long as you keep doing that as it dries, this will tighten it up and then give your axles a lot harder of a time to go down. That way when you can give it a nice press down, everything goes down evenly, you can deploy the flaps, and it looks good. You can also repeat that for the back if you have to. All right, so now we're on the home stretch. We can start working on the little detailed parts. So, as you can see here, we have the turret. Turret is pretty easy to install, doesn't require any glue. You're gonna take this front part and press it in on this little notch. You're gonna take the back, I'm gonna flip it around just so you can see here. Take the back, just kind of press in, give it some force, and it'll just kind of pop in place and it will not come out, and you can rotate it all the way around, and then that looks nice. So as you can see here, we have our mezzanette pieces. We have the pieces for the 2009 or the older versions. We also have the version for 2025, 2026 or modern versions. So you can assemble either one. These will both be included in the kit to put on either if you're the back spikes or if you have the flap, you know. So the mesonet or manometer just kind of friction fits in there. And then if you look, there's a hole in the back. You can just kind of fit this in right there. And that will be on there for the, manometer. And I recommend for intercepting, since this could lift, this might and will break off. So if you're ever intercepting, you can just pop it out and do that. But if it's on display, you can have it in and it looks nice. Same thing goes with this version. You can just pop the pipe on right here. It just kind of friction fits on. Same thing with the camera. It goes on right there, friction fits. And then same thing with our manometer, just kind of pops on. And then you'll be able to throw it on there. And then same thing with that. It looks really nice. Thank you to Foog89 for modeling this for me. And yeah, it looks nice. As for repairs on your parts, showed you if your airbags wore out, you can do that. If stuff breaks, there is some spare parts in the kit, but if you do need spare parts, I will have them posted on eBay because things break and you need spare parts. But if you break them, not really responsible for them, so you can buy them on eBay. And if there's a spare part, like a really weird one that you need, you can message me and I can get it worked out for you, whatever you need. So yeah. So that should be it for building your TIV2 kit. If you have any questions, you can message me on eBay or join the Discord. So you can see, this will roll pretty nice. Your airbags down, side flaps down, and it's nice. You have your tool you can always use for your spikes. Can't really put them all the way down, but they can go down. Then you have your turret that rotates, your mesonet, and your optional one. So yeah, that should be it. Thank you for watching or buying. Thank you.